Hey guys, shalom, shalom. So I want to come up here and make this quick video. I wanted to talk about the good hand of the Most High upon us, the good hand of Yah upon us. When you read the book of Nehemiah, particularly chapter 2, verses 8 and verse 18, it talks about the good hand of the Most High being upon him in order for him to be able to complete the work. I apologize again for the quality of my video. My desktop is updating, my phone is charging, and so I have to use my laptop, and this quality of camera is not that great. And it might be a little stagnant here and there. So I apologize for that, but it does the job nonetheless. And I pray that you'll be able to hear the message regardless. But when you think about people in the Bible that we read about all the time, and I'm always fascinated and mesmerized by them when I read this, when I read about them, like especially Elijah and Elisha and Moshe and Abraham and Isaac and Jacob and Shaul and of course the Messiah. But when you count the fact that, the Messiah was, I believe, deity clothed in flesh. He had the spirit of the Most High wrapped in flesh. Some people may see him as being separate from the Most High. I personally don't see him being separate from the Most High, but that's a whole different story. I don't want to get into that. But at the same time, he was the Son of Man and also the Son of God. But when you look at just the regular people whom didn't have, whom was living before the Ruach HaKodesh, the day of Pentecost, fell and came and began to dwell in man, because before it would just rest upon them. They would do what they needed to do, whatever the Most High called them to do, and then it will be sent back to glory, to the Father. And the Ruach was not dwelling in them like it is now once the Messiah came and did the work that he did on the cross. Anyway, when we look at like I said before in times past, Father Abraham, who was able to leave his family and go off to a land that he knew nothing of. When you think about Isaac, and how he was the chosen child, so to speak, the one that the Most High promised unto him and said that he will, raise him up and so forth. And then when you look at his son, Jacob, one of his sons, Jacob, who is the father of the 12 nations, the 12 tribes, without him, there wouldn't be a 12 tribes. So he was very much a key player without all of them, but he was very much a key player. But then when you look at how his life was when he was able to wrestle with the angel, when he went to sleep, laid his head down on the rock, went to sleep, saw the angel, and then said, I'm not letting this angel go until you give me something. And so the Most High blessed him, touched his hip, of course, blessed him, gave him his new name, Israel, and made him the father of the 12 tribes of the nations. And there's countless people in the Bible. When you look at, like I said, Elisha and how he was able to stand before the prophets of Ahab, 450 of them, and not fear, and be able to come out victoriously, be able to call down fire from heaven, to ascend down from fire from heaven to burn up and destroy the messengers of Ahab when they came to talk to him or whatever. Also, you think about when he was with Elisha, and he told Elisha, he prayed that the Most High would open his eyes, and he saw the chariots, the tens of thousands of chariots or whatever, that of the Most High's host, the Most High's army that was there to defend two people. So if he sent that many for two people, imagine what he would do for the nation. But that's a whole nother topic as well. Also, when you look at Elisha, who was able to, speak against the children who was making fun of him, and the she-bear came out and destroyed them, he was able to make the axe head swim, so to speak. And I'm not talking about the men themselves. What I'm talking about is the hand of the Most High being upon them, the good hand of the Most High being upon them, just like Nehemiah said when he was rebuilding the temple. It was because of the Most High's hand, the good hand of the Most High being upon him, that he was able to do the work that he was doing, that good work. Now, the hand of the Most High was upon Israel when we disobeyed, but it wasn't a good hand. He had turned his face from us when we were, in punishment. He allowed us to go through our punishment. But it was the Most High, the good hand of the Most High, that was upon these different people. Even when you look at Judith and Queen Esther, when she was able to deliver the Israelites from the hand of Haran, and under, the rule of, I don't know how to pronounce his name, but anyway, the king I'm talking about. I don't want to say it and butcher it and sound silly. But also Judith, who was able to take off the head of the enemy. I forgot who that actual person was, but she cut his head off and was able to deliver the Israelites again. Also, when you think about Jael, who was able to have the enemy in her camp, give him some milk, put him to sleep, and then drill a spear through his head. Now, I'm not saying this to be vulgar and, offensive and like that, not trying to be, too much, but if that's what happened. And it was because of, what was it that allowed them to have the upper hand, to be victorious. When you think about Judas Maccabees and the book of the Maccabees, and also his brother Jonathan, those were some bad boys, Not just them, because Israel was tough regardless when we were in right standing before the Most High, when the good hand of the Most High was upon us. But Judas Maccabees and his brother Jonathan, they were some undefeated brothers. They were the dread and tear of the land. They were defeating people left and right. And also look at Joshua, the son of Nun, who was able to be able to walk around the wall of Jericho with a crowd of people, and on the seventh day cry out loud, and that massive wall fell down to crumbs and became debris, rubbish. Also, he was able to keep the speaking, have the sun stand still rather, for 3 whole days. Elijah kept the rain from coming for 3 years. I mean, think about this. And I'm like, what makes an Israelite? What really makes an Israelite? Oftentimes I feel like we find ourselves loving the side effects of being an Israelite, which is the culture, which is the dress and the commandment keeping. And yes, we have to keep the commandments, but if we're not careful, we'll find ourselves loving the side effects, if you will, of the creator, the giver of the commandments, more than the actual giver of the commandments. And for me, I said this before, and I'll say it again. I keep the commandments not because the commandments make me closer to Yah, but me loving Yah makes me closer to keeping his commandments, because whatever it is that he wants me to do, because I love him so much, I'm going to do it. So I don't start at the commandments. I go to the creator. I don't start at what was given. I go to who was giving it. And that's what I feel like we should do. If we're not careful, we'll find ourselves wrapped up in that and forgetting so much about the creator, the giver, and loving the given. And then also, if you think about it like a marriage, because marriage is a covenant, just like Israel went into a covenant. Israel was recognized as, in the Christian church, they call it the church. Christianity, they call it the church, was recognized as being the bride of Christ, or the bride of the Messiah, the bride of Yahushua. He's the bridegroom. So what is it when you go into a marriage, you have your dress on, you have your suit on. Do you care that much about what you're wearing versus the relationship between you and the spouse? Because the relationship between you and the spouse is what's going to sustain the marriage, what's going to sustain the contract, what's going to keep it. And that's how we are supposed to be looking at the Most High. Yes, we are to look the part so that when people see us, they know we're Hebrews, but they don't just know we're Hebrews because we have fringes on or we have our head wrapped up in our kufi and our beards and whatnot. We keep the Shabbat and we don't eat pork. But they know we're Hebrews because the good hand, the Most High, is upon us, which comes from relationship. What was it about the people that I named that allowed them to have those relationships that they had? Like I said, well, Moshe, he was able to have be used by the Most High, the good hand, the Most High upon him, to be able to part the Red Sea. We walked across on dry land, not we per se, but our ancestors walked across on dry land. He turned around and did it again and held up the rod, and it came down on Pharaoh's armies. The pillar of fire by day and the cloud by night. I mean, the pillar of fire by night and the cloud by day, the manna and the water coming out of the rock, the water going up the mountain. What are these things that allow them to be able to do this? Because a lot of times, remember, these things were happening before the commandments were given, before fringes were put in place as a commandment by the Most High. The Shabbat was always there because that was given, in Genesis chapter 1. But what were they doing? And what I realized is that there was a relationship they had with the Most High. There was a relationship that Elijah and Abraham and Moses and Elisha and Jacob and Isaac and, all the prophets, Ezekiel and Isaiah, Jeremiah and Nehemiah. It was a relationship that they had. And there's so many people that I can go on and name that I forgot to name again. This is my 3rd or 4th time filming this video, but there's so many other people that I can name that these people had relationship with the Most High before fringes, after fringes, during fringes, whatever. And it was because of the relationship they had with the Most High that allowed them to be able to have the good hand upon the good hand of the Most High upon them. And so that's what I want us to focus on. That's what makes us an Israelite, because when people see us, it's supposed to look and see how we move in these streets, so to speak, and be able to tell, wow, they're not just Hebrews and Israelites because of how they dress, but they're Hebrews and Israelites because their God is with them. The hand of the Most High is upon them. And yes, keeping the commandments is definitely what we're supposed to be doing, but it doesn't stop there. We need to go further than that. We shouldn't just be seeking, let me make sure I keep my fringes on every garment, which is good, but we should be seeking to know the Creator, really having a relationship with the Father, really knowing this God, this God, the only true God, that will be able to have, his support, give us his support. That's the main thing I want in this wicked, evil world. I want his support. Yes, I want to eat the fat of the land, but I want his support. I want to be saved in the day of trouble. I want to be kept from my enemies. I want my enemies to be my footstool. I want my ways to please the Most High to the point where my enemies be at peace with me. And so I want to give that to you to encourage you to don't stop at the commandments, but seek a relationship with the Father. Seek a deep relationship so that you can be like the people I named. Shalom.